you have been deep into human design for over 7 years. You coach other human design coaches, yours truly included, and you really are the human design coach's coach. And you've built this business that has allowed you to turn your move your life over to Mexico and have this lifestyle. And one of the things, well, first let me go into, so for people who do not know you yet, how did you get into human design and what's different about your approach than all the other human design people's?
Oh, that's a good question. So yeah, I got well, I think often people are introduced to human design. It's not like you go seek it out, it finds you.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? And so it was introduced to me in the spring of 2018. And I had like a newborn baby. Okay. I was still married at the time. I had a toddler as well. He's like 3.5. And yeah, when it was shown to me, I was like, that seems too complicated for my life right now. That doesn't seem like something I have the bandwidth to get
Yeah,
into. I'm not interested in that at all. That looks like algebra. But by the summertime, I started to see it like pop up on social media in a way that was a little bit more digestible for
yeah,
me, a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, a little bit more neutral, and with better descriptions than what I had originally heard when it was first introduced to me. So I got curious about it, and you and I are both projectors. I found out I was a projector, and I was like, nope, I don't like that. I
that
don't
doesn't
want
work
that.
for me.
That doesn't sound cool at all. But I found out my oldest son is a manifester type, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. Manifestation was like huge,
Yeah,
huge at the time. Everybody wanted to talk about manifesting and manifestation. And so I learned about his type before I learned about mine, and it really helped me a lot with parenting him because it gave me that validation of I'm not doing something wrong as a parent. I just have a kid that you can't tell what to do.
right. This isn't anything wrong with me. It's just literally so interesting. So you came into it from the parenting angle. And was that the first time you realized like there was something to this?
Yeah, well, because I started to implement what I understood of his strategy and authority at the time, informing and the signature and not self themes of peace versus anger. And we had a very angry little toddler, right? And with this strategy of informing, we started to see a more peaceful and neutral side of him, when we
Yeah,
stopped trying to control him and tell him what to do. And so that changed a lot about my life in general.
yeah,
Then I decided, well, maybe there is something to this. And I decided to start studying my own type and my own design as well as all of the others. And I found the same. And throughout all of my coaching clients and readings, I found that it gives you that validation, right?
yeah,
That permission that you don't find a lot of other places in life.
yeah.
If I were to tell my friends, hey, I'm really struggling with, parenting my child, I would get different feedback from every
Right.
single one of them. They would all have a different opinion about me or the style, and they would just,
Yeah,
they kind of, you run yourself around in circles, putting your authority outside of yourself. And human design, I mean, the number one thing it teaches is to self the authority. And I think 7 years in now, I really feel aligned with trusting myself and my decision-making process and not delegating that to anyone else ever. And that is really very empowering as a woman, as a parent, as an entrepreneur. Like
yeah,
you
yeah.
save so much time and energy.
Yeah. And I think that's a big thing because there's just so much information and options out there. If you have a question about your business, your kid, your relationships, you'll get any different. And the problem is a lot of the parenting strategies and business, they all work. It's like, are they going to work for me though? And how do I like execute this or can I? So that's interesting. So that kind of ties into my next question, which so you got into it for the practical side with the parenting and then kind of saw firsthand, like, oh, like this is actually pretty cool. I feel like we're similar in that you have a very direct approach where you tell people that human design is not an excuse. It's like in this field of, especially with spiritual entrepreneurs and spiritual bypassing, like, oh, I'm spiritual, so whatever. How do you balance honoring someone's design while also calling them out on their BS? And what's the most common way you see people using their human design as an excuse to avoid doing the work, whether it's hard work or not?
Wow, that's a good question. Well, to answer your second first question, because you asked me like,
Yes.
how I do human design differently.
Differently, yes.
And
Do-
it does relate to what you're asking as well. I love to cut through the dogmatism. Okay. That was the number one thing that I saw that I didn't like that really bothered me is that
Yeah,
like in order to learn this or practice this, you have to adopt this entire belief system.
yeah,
And I'm like, no, right? I can do whatever I want, but I can also use human design and I also use astrology as just a structure for understanding the mechanics of
yeah,
the universe.
yeah,
Everything is cyclical, okay?
yeah,
Astrology wheel goes around and around in circles. The Rave mandala in human design, it goes around and around in circles. And also everything has this potential for shadow, light, and
yeah,
neutral. And I think sometimes, often for me actually, and for my clients, the bullshit is the light. The bullshit is everything is great. We're delusional. We're only going to say good things. We're only going to acknowledge like the best things that are happening. We only get to have gratitude. And when I work with clients and when I do readings, I always acknowledge the two sides of every story, right? Hey, you have this center defined. That's effervescent. You can really create a lot. And you can be prone to a lot of conditioning here. You
yeah,
could have been told stories that were not true. And that's hard, right? That makes us sad. That makes us question our relationships. But I think it's important to
yeah,
ask questions. I think it's important to be curious. I think it's important to sit with things that are kind of uncomfortable and
yeah.
then, okay, now that I've grown, now that I've learned this lesson, what do I want to create now? And I often tell people like what others will tell you are your like strengths and your gifts in your chart and they're like, "Okay, go do that." Often you don't realize how strong you are there because it
Hmm.
started off as a weakness. That's
Hmm.
that's how you become strong. You have this like
That's true.
thing that you came in with, right? Like
Yeah,
this ancestry or this challenging placement that you started with, and you had to learn how to work with that in
yeah,
a way no one else had to learn how to work with that. And so now you become very strong because you've built that muscle, right? Like you've been carrying this weighted backpack your whole life that nobody else is.
right.
Here I come, I give you validation. I'm like, wow, that must have been really hard.
Yeah, a lot to carry.
And then they go, "Oh, yeah, it was." And I go, and that's your gift. And that's your thing
Yeah,
because you know everything about that. You know the shadow and the light and the neutral, and you've been through all of it with
right.
this thing. Now you can use this thing.
Yeah.
Processing.
Yeah, that was a lot to unpack. The shadows, the strengths. I think a lot of people they want to be strong or resilient or successful. They don't realize the success is built on failure. Strength is built on weakness. Like there it's all comes from that. So the way that you kind of do the no BS approach is like a lot of times what they've heard are like all this time like are their strengths. You're able to be like, yes, and there's also this side. And so like what else is underneath there and being able to kind of bring those that nuance or understanding to the surface with a visual or like a clear reason why. Do you feel like
Well,
that?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. The chart is the visual, right? So you can
right.
look at every center and you could go colored in or not colored in, right? And
Yeah,
so here's what happens or doesn't happen, but you get to exist on the entire spectrum of the whole chart. And
right.
I think like some people get a little triggered about like pop astrology and pop human design because we're only going
Yeah,
to talk about the good stuff and we're only going to say I have this thing and I am this thing and that's all I'm going to go all in on that. And I read the entire chart to every person, right? There's not one
yeah,
area that I go, okay, you're only this.
right.
You're this, and you're this and this, and you're this and this, right? You're shadow and light, and you're also strength and weakness all the time. And this is how we exist on this planet. That's everything about like planet Earth is exists in a duality.
When you were saying that, it just reminded me of it's when we had a session one day and you saw my like serial killer Miro board and you were like, "Oh my God, Amanda." And I was like, "I know. I just don't even know. Like this is just so much information." You were like, "I could never make that. Like that's just too like
Yeah.
complex." Because I was like, "I just want to be like you. Like you get to the bottom of things, you simplify things, you're like really clear and direct, and I'm so long-winded." And I was coming up with all of these things I didn't like about my design, and you were like, "Yeah." And like this I couldn't have done. You have the strengths and the weaknesses, and we use the light to overcome the dark, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. We were talking about your defined crown and ajna, and I'm like, you're pure genius. You know, like you have so much going on. And I don't envy you because you have so much going on, but I do admire like the way that your brain works because mine doesn't do that. And I think after years and years of studying human design and talking to people and hearing their experiences, like that's the number one thing I do. My leading gate in human design is the gate of the listener. So
Yeah,
like you tell me your experience. I don't want to tell you your experience. I want you to tell me your experience, and then I will tell you where that lands in your chart. And now you have this visual, right? This place that you
yeah,
can land. You go, okay, it's okay. My
right,
brain's on overdrive all the time, and that's okay. There's a light to that, right? There's some pure genius, some pure brilliance. And
right.
there's also shadow to that. It creates a lot of pressure. It can feel very overwhelming. It can create relationship dynamics for me that sometimes are uncomfortable, but can also create relationship dynamics where some people really appreciate it and they find me really inspiring, you know? And so
Yeah.
I get to work with that. I get to work with all of these different potentials, and that's my journey for this incarnation. And I I accept whether I like it or not, right?
That's it. That's it. No, that's it. I love that. And that just it really did unlock something in me because I have clients, or I actually had this one client, she thought she was a projector for like months, and I'm not really sure how she came up with this information. And then when I ran her chart, she was a generator, and she was so bummed. She was like, "Oh man, like this sucks." And I was like, "Listen, Linda, okay, a lot of us wish we had this level of pizzazz and like energy and
Yeah.
get things done." And I basically told her what you told me is like there's good and bad of all of this. There's nothing basic about you. I feel like generators feel like that sometimes, and it's sad because they make the world go round. We need them all. We need everybody.
Yeah, I mean, comparison is,
And it's easy, yeah, to look at
joy.
someone else and be like, they've got it easier. That's cooler. I wish I was a reflector. And it's like,
Literally everyone does that.
yeah,
Every single type. Okay. I can look at a chart and be like, oh, this is amazing. Look at you. Look at you. Look at this. You have all this like these beneficial placements. And they're like, this sucks.
this
This is
sucks.
too
I
hard
hate
for
it.
me. I don't want to do
Yeah,
this. You know
I
what
don't
I
want
mean?
to do it.
I can see someone who has like some challenging placements and I ask a question and they're like, yeah, but I'm dealing with it. You know, it's
They deal
okay.
with it. That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the number one thing is to manage the energy that you have. And that, I mean, like business wise, because I'm sure you're getting to this question, like this, that's what's driven me to avoid anything hustle related, anything grind related, anything that has the potential to burn me out. Because I already knew my energy was precious. I already knew I was really sensitive. I already knew that my health was actually my wealth and my abundance, right? That's what I'm really most proud of.
Yeah.
And I got into this online business game, right? And you see people, I'm making six figures a
Yeah.
month, you know,
A
I'm doing
month.
all of
Yep.
these things.
700K yesterday.
Yeah. But then they get on they book me for a reading and they're like, I am tired.
Miserable.
I
Yeah.
can't do this forever. I'm so burnt out. I'm working 10 hours a day on things that are really draining me. What do I do? How do I get an alignment, right? And so
Yeah.
being able to see and experience that, but also just being a very stubborn person. I am a very stubborn. I have one channel. It's the channel of struggle, and the keynote there is a design of stubbornness. Okay. It
Interesting.
doesn't matter how much money is being dangled in front of me, I will never compromise my health. And I think that that's kind of what's been beneficial for me in human design, but also gives different types permission to show up in business the way that actually feels good in their body. Here we go, feel good expert, right? Actually feels good in their body. So like majority of my sales have been passive income. I
Mhm.
go on and off with coaching clients one on
Yeah,
one. Like I'll open it up and then I'll close
yeah.
it and
Yeah.
open it because I love the freedom. I love, just being able to make sales in my sleep.
Only a select few make the cut.
I know, right? And I'll do readings and then I won't, right? And I'll nail down my calendar like so tight that it's almost hard to get in, right? Even though
Yeah,
I'm not booked out with a whole bunch of other readings. I'm just like,
right.
I'm doing whatever I want to do. I gotta have fun here, right? I'm only on this planet for so long. I only get this body for one lifetime. Like I gotta do fun stuff. I can't just sit here and work my whole life. That sounds horrible.
That was another thing that I really did notice or was drawn to you for. I didn't really have the full scope until like after we were working together, and I realized like the level of strategy and intentionality that went into building a business that allows you to do that. Because I mean, that's no small feat. Most people have to start with high ticket, one-on-one, selling their time for money, and then they get to the point where like they come to you and they're like, this is a lot. I can't deliver on all of this. And then they start building out the passive. You did it the other way.
Just intuitively led, right? That's my defined spleen. That's my authority. Like the instinct of, you know what, I got well, and also I'm a first line.
Yeah.
I've got to get the foundation in place, right? So it's a combination of two things. We were talking about this in my group coaching yesterday. And I was telling them, like, they go, well, how do you deal with all these contradictions in the chart? And I go, are they really contradictions though? Or is it the nuance of being a human that has like a lot of facets to you? You know what I mean? You think a certain way, you act a certain way, you feel a certain way, and your design will describe all of these little nuanced details, but they're not in competition with
No.
each other. They're not contradicting each other. So for me as a first line foundational person and also a defined spleen person, I'm going to listen to my instincts. That's how I make decisions. And
Yeah.
what I decide to do is typically lay a foundation somewhere, right? To get to the bottom of things, to figure things out, to learn something new. And so as soon as I started getting popular on TikTok, which I kind of lucked out, you know what I mean? I just kind of hit like one of my first videos ever. I just had this magical formula and they just kept pushing it out. And as soon as I saw that, I go, I gotta get these people's email addresses.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
gotta answer all their questions, but I'm not gonna sit here and work all day. So what is the most efficient way I can do this where
Yeah.
it can be replicated forever? Because I only want to do it one time. That's another thing. I only want to do it one time. Okay. I only want to tell you one time. I only want to do it one time. I only want to show up for this one time. And then I want that work to just live on forever. And that's what happened. I set up my pop-up, email capture as soon as I knew that this video was going viral. So I started
Yeah.
capturing all these
Yeah.
people's email because they were going to my website and then they were asking questions. Well, what does this mean? What does this mean? And so every time I made a video on TikTok, I linked it to my chart generator. And now I have these free video explanations that are on my website that people refer to all the time. But this is very projector, right? Very systems, very efficient. And it all comes really from a source of laziness. I
I've
just don't
heard
want
you
to do
say
a
that.
lot.
It's so interesting. I guess there's a lot to be said for get it right the first time. If I'm already going to do this once, let's, milk it.
Or at least like get it started. Like
Yeah.
know your vision, know your intention, and then start putting the pieces in place. And you can change your mind later. You can
Yeah.
add to it later. You can fix things later. And that's kind of what happened, right? I continued to optimize my tools and I continued to add to my email sequence, right? We started with what
Right.
we have, like, just get in here, and then we said, okay, here's another email, here's another email. And then we were able to go in and change the links as more offers came about. But if you have that structure in place, right, that scaffolding, you can always add to it. But if you're always waiting for someone to tell you the right answer, if you're always waiting for that next viral video and then I'll know, or I'm always
Right.
waiting for that big giant high ticket client and then I'll have money and then I
Right.
can pay someone else to figure it out.
Right.
Always waiting.
You're always waiting. And then it doesn't happen because you're waiting for it.
Yeah, and you just kind of are stuck in this endless loop, of
Limbo.
giving your authority away. Like
Yeah.
all of the types are waiting for something, but it's still you're waiting to activate your own authority. You're not waiting for something outside of your body to tell you yes or no or okay or not okay, right? You're waiting to interact with the thing in your environment that gives you the embodied
Yeah.
yes,
Yes.
embodied clarity or the embodied direction, right? You're waiting for that. You're not waiting for some material thing to prove something to you.
Right. Or pop up and you're like perfectly on a silver platter. One thing you said that just I want to know your experience with this because you were the first line one I really got to know on a like closer level. And so I even when we started working together, I didn't know like you would reference my profile or that you're a line one, so I get to the bottom of things and I like kind of knew what you were talking about, but like didn't at the same time. And now having worked with a lot of clients who have this line one, it's like I've noticed they're very, very smart. They have a lot of information, a lot of research, and it is almost this like, do I know enough? Am I enough? And then when you have the third line with it, who needs the trial and error and the experimentation, how do you balance this like I need this foundation and also I got to try some things?
Yeah. The profile lines I always describe as the way to create balance in your life, right? We have six potential lines. One is at the bottom. That's how they're laid out visually. So one, two, three, that's lower trigram, and then four, five, six, that's upper trigram. Lower trigram is very much internalized, an internalized experience, right? Upper trigram is very much externalized, right? What, how do I get this out to the people? How do I,
Yeah,
connect with others? And I'm saying that because I know you're 4-6.
I know.
But one side is conscious, the first number in your profile, and then the other side is unconscious to you. Like you don't really know that that's how people see you.
Right,
So I always remind people you got to balance between conscious and unconscious. If you stay too long in doing conscious healing work, you don't touch on those hidden things, those hidden patterns, those stuck things that are below the surface. And if you spend too much time in unconscious healing work, right? Like in meditative states,
yeah,
up on the top of a mountain, like in some kind of delusional, delirious
yeah,
somewhere else, you
yeah,
don't actually experience reality, right? You don't
right,
actually have the real tools.
right,
And for me, as a 1-3, right? My mind feels at ease when I have safety of information, very much internalized. I'm not um connecting and talking with people to find out what they know because
right,
I'm in this internal loop. I'm reading books, I'm doing research, right? I'm gathering data, I'm getting to the bottom of things in my own little way, and I'm kind of just hoarding all of that. And if I just sit with my books, right, and I read all of the time and I never actually experiment with what I learn, then what good do they do me? And
right,
so I actually remind myself, step outside the box, right? Connect with other people, try things on for size, do something that's challenging for me, be willing to fail. And now I have this balance between what I know and what I do. And the same thing with any of the profile numbers. So for yours, for example, it's
yeah,
like you have this safety in relationships, but very foundational relationships, like you and your mom, for example.
yeah,
But then I have to go out and show up as a role model in
yeah,
my life, right? I have to go out and show how I've gained wisdom from all of the things that I've experienced. And,
yeah,
it's hard. It's
yeah.
hard to admit our failures, especially, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to sit with all of those challenges, but you they're both externalized, right? It's both
Yeah,
with other people, but it's
yeah.
that balance between, staying in that safe foundation of this easy people and
Mm-hmm.
also
Mm-hmm.
showing up in front of a larger audience and sharing what you've learned and your wisdom over time. And all of the profile numbers do that. And
Yeah.
some are transpersonal and some of them are personal based on your incarnation cross.
Your own
So
thing.
there's
Yeah.
there's so many like different directions and layers and details and nuance. And that's kind of what I like about human design. It keeps my mind busy. I can
Busy.
always find a new foundation in it.
Yeah. And just keep building on it.
Mhm.
So, and it is so nuanced. I'm sure you've noticed like a lot of people will get into human design and I feel like they end up in these endless rabbit holes. And you've worked with clients all across the spectrum, like maybe just starting out, have had more success. And I'm curious, when you first start working with a client, what are some of the first places you're looking in their chart to help them in business? Depending on, I guess it depends on where they're starting from, but
Yeah, but I mean, I'm always going to look at strategy, authority, and profile. Like I
yeah,
like astrology and it's big three, and I think that's the big
yeah,
three of human design. Because if
yeah,
you're not living in alignment, I can tell you a million bazillion things. I can give you so much advice.
right,
I can give you so many details, and you're not gonna do it, or you're gonna do it in a way that doesn't align with your body, and then you won't be able to stick to
right,
it. And
right,
so strategy and authority and profile, like just tell you the basics of how to show up as you in anything that you do, right? So it's like if I'm working with a projector, hey, you need to be like looking at creating some systems, some efficiency.
mhm,
Like
mhm.
it is your job to make other people's energy more efficient. That's just part of your job in this whole lifetime. So are you doing that? Do you have a step-by-step process? Do you have something that you can replicate in your business?
Yeah,
Because not, if you're hustling all the time, no matter what I tell you, you're going to burn yourself
yeah,
out, right? If
right,
you're a generator, like, is this giving you any level of satisfaction? Right? Like
yeah,
at the end of the day, do you feel tired from but happy from all the work that you did? Because if
right,
not, this is not the right thing for you. Like you need to find something else, right? You need to wait to respond to
yeah,
something else because somebody told you that you were supposed to do this and now you're doing it and you're unhappy. Now, what is the point of having a business or having a life or having money if you're going to be unhappy at the end of the day? And so there's that. And then they have to like really have this aligned sense of their own authority because if not, again, you're going to hire me. I'm going to tell you things and you go, maybe that's not enough. You're going to hire the next person and they're going to tell you things. You're going to go, that's not enough. And you just don't trust yourself. And so you
right,
again are going to spiral out, crash out
yeah,
because your authority is outside of you. And then, of course, the profiles we just talked about, like not only creating balance, but like how do you show up? People like me because I share to the best of my ability foundational stuff, right? Like I don't add my own belief systems, like I
yeah,
don't try to make it anything special other than like just really clear and direct. And that's my first line, and that's aligned, right? So, me knowing that and them knowing that and being able to articulate that and everything goes together, it feels very authentic. The other
yeah,
thing, I tell stories about my own experience with human design and the experiences of my clients, right? And people that I do readings for. That's the third line. That's what people expect from me, right? They go,
right,
oh, you
right,
make it make sense by communicating it clearly, but it also makes sense because you give me an example that I can relate to, right?
yeah,
Something that I can kind of like ground myself into. And so that's a huge, all of those are a huge part of my own business. Now, once we get past that, messaging and marketing is huge. Who are you talking to and what are you telling? What do you want them to do? And so then I start to look at like Mercury and Venus placements and your
hmm,
design, Sun and Earth, because I tell my clients, if you can put words to what they experience of you, they're going to affirm those words back to you. That's going to land in your marketing in a very authentic way. And you get this loop, right?
yeah,
Of you're telling them what you offer and it's aligned and it's authentic. They come in, they get that from you, right? They understand that that's what you offer. When they work with you, that is what they get. You can't
right,
help it.
right,
And then when they give you a testimonial, they say the same things that you've said that you offer, right? So everything is aligned, everything is clear, everything makes sense because you couldn't help but be that way in the first place. And so I look at someone's chart and I tell them, this is what you say. This
yeah,
is what you focus on. This is what you do. This is what you're already doing. And I will give them example of something that they said to me at some point in the call that shows what they were already doing and what they were already saying. And I'll tell them, I told a client actually, I think it was this week I had a reading, and she had the gate of limitation in her Mercury. And
yeah,
you talk about your limits and you talk about how you have felt limited in your life and you have this big voice for your own limitations. Now imagine if you could take that one little gate, that one little Mercury placement and tell people that you can help them break through their own perceived limitations, that you have the experience with this, that limitation doesn't mean that you're not going to like move forward in life and that you can't create momentum, right?
right,
what if you could, right? Shadow, light, neutral to all the things. What if you could stop internalizing this, right? And
Yeah.
stopping yourself and use that as a strength to help other people because you have so much experience. Just use that word. She's like, oh, okay.
And this, whoever's listening, no, this is exactly what TNG does. I remember going through exactly this with you. And I was just like, there's so many things I could say. And you were like, why don't you just say this? And I was like, oh, okay. I guess I could. I guess I
That's,
could. But it should be more complicated. It should definitely
right.
be more complicated, is what it is.
That's what I find. Like people don't always believe me the first time because I just very directly, very clearly, this is the thing. And then they
Yeah,
have to their process, right?
right,
And they have to
right.
experiment with it and they have to kind of bounce it off the walls. And then they come back around and they go, oh, now I see what you meant.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
circle back on it. Now it layers in. So what it like you though that's where you look in your chart, and I know you've worked with clients like all over the spectrum. What do you see as like the differences between someone who can't break like 30 or 50,000 versus those who are able to hit six figures and continue in the spiritual entrepreneur space?
I mean, a lot of people
Be
are
so
not honest about how much money they make,
right.
right? And a lot of people, well, and I mean, as part of marketing, you'll say this is how much I make, but then they don't talk about like how much it costs. And so,
Yeah.
in my experience, it's very hard for me to like equate an amount of money with an amount of success, right?
Yeah.
I see people that are successful as the people who like it so much that they don't stop.
Yeah.
And I've worked with a lot of people who have made a lot of money, but they had to keep changing. They had to keep changing their marketing. They had to keep changing the type of business. They had to keep changing the foundations of things.
Hmm.
That is exhausting. That
Yeah.
is exhausting.
Starting all over.
When you line up with your design, it's more of like a slow and steady wins the race, right? But you're so satisfied, you feel so successful, you feel so peaceful, you feel so surprised, right? Depending on your type, but we all have the experience of all of the things. But you have such an aligned feeling with what you're doing that it's almost like the money part doesn't matter so much.
Yeah.
Popular opinion, but like I said, for me, being splenic, like my health is my wealth. And
Yeah.
people come to me when they've done the thing, but they don't feel good,
Yeah.
right? They've done the thing, but they feel burnt out. They've done the thing, but it's just not quite hitting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I typically work with someone who is either just starting or
Yeah.
starting over. And
Yeah.
so these money metrics are hard for me because
Yeah.
it's like they'll get to somewhere,
They'll still
right?
get there. Yeah.
But when I talk to them, they've had to reset. Like I've
Yeah.
mentioned in my some of my emails and some of my social posts, like I had a reflector client that came to me as she was leaving a business partnership. And the
Mm.
business partnership was doing okay, right? They had metrics, they had numbers, they had all of these things. But when she came to me for the reading, she was starting at zero, right?
Yeah.
Nothing, right? She
Yeah.
was like, I can't do this is our joint social account. I have to start over a whole new social media account.
Yeah.
I have to do all of these things brand new from
Yeah.
scratch. And so I looked at her chart and, we talked about all of the basic things that I always talk about. And she's like, okay, cool, I'm ready. Right.
Yeah.
And she took off in her business. She makes six figures a month as a reflector, which, many people would think that's not
Amazing.
possible. You
Yeah.
don't have consistency. You don't have energy. But this girl is like Aries sun. Like
Yeah.
she fully embodied that. She got the permission to show up, to take up space, to be really big and to like, I really see her Mercury placement in her marketing actually, like to be ambitious,
Yeah.
but to follow her own cycles. And she was able to do that on her own, right? To say, okay, I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to show up. I'm going to make all this money. And then I'm going to take quarterly vacations. Like I'll take a
Hmm.
whole month off and
Yeah.
then I'll come back and I'll go at it, right? This is not to say that she'll never burn out or she'll never change her mind, but the people that I work with are typically starting from scratch.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really interesting, which is similar to what I was going to ask you about projectors. Like, given that your energy is precious and health is your wealth, and we know reflectors are cyclical, What does a typical week look like for you in your business? And like they always say business requires like consistency, momentum, showing up every day. Like how do you manage that for yourself? Like what does that look like for you?
I do next to nothing. I want to be honest with you.
Just totally honest. I love it.
I do very little.
How do
I've
you
had
get away with that?
I've had a VA from the beginning. So
Yeah.
that was like a baseline, like this just has to be. This
Yeah.
won't continue, this won't go.
Yeah.
Unless I've always had a manifesting generator VA. That wasn't like being like discriminatory, right? I didn't have like a
Oh, no, she's
shit
the
ton of
best.
applicants. I'm
Yeah.
like, nobody but the MGs. It was just that
No.
MGs applied. They were so
Right.
interested, and that's what I got. Anyways, I've had three different. I had an MG project manager at an MG VA, and then she had a baby, and now I have another MG VA that has replaced her. And without that consistent energy that they have and that excitement, right,
Yeah.
to work on a business
Yeah.
like my it's a business, this would not continue to go, right? So they
Yeah.
kind of keep things moving behind the scenes, especially social media wise and all of the reposting.
Mm-hmm.
The only time that I feel that, because I talk about, the motors being the
Yeah.
place in which you get this burst of energy or not, right?
Right.
Because I know your chart.
Yep. Or
I
not.
have one motor, it's the root center, and it has an
Yeah.
on-off pulse. And I am turned on when it's time to create a system. Okay.
Yeah.
And otherwise, I'm probably turned off. Right. And so when I first started and I wanted to get my charts, right, like my online chart tool done with the video descriptions, that
Yeah.
was on. And I had energy to do all of that and to complete that. And it was great and it felt good. And then it was off. And it took about a year until I got like a year in the process of
Yeah.
that specific system. But a year later, I got another pulse that was like, I need to get these reports done. I want the reports. I'm ready to do the reports. Let's do it. Right. Turned on 48 hours. I sat and wrote everything. As before we had ChatGPT. Sat and wrote everything for my reports and put it out there. Right. Boom. Done. Right. Passive income, another passive income stream. And then I pull back, right? And then one day I'm like, I got to get this course done. People like my style.
Yeah.
They're coming on my social media. Like I'm getting all of these emails. I got to get this course done.
Yeah.
It turned on, right? I'm like, this is gonna happen. The
Yeah.
course is gonna get done. I'm ready, right? And I invited people into that, and that created passive income for me that has continued because I sold it membership style. Okay, but because the course was done, later on, I think maybe a year or two later, I got this other pulse that's like, hey, now I can sell this passively. Let me set up this funnel, right? And so on Pulse, like to get all of that system done, set up the funnel and then pull back, right? And in the times when you are pulled back, it's very challenging, especially growing up in the society that we've grown up in, that like, hey, if you don't work at 8 hours a day, you're useless, you're worthless, right?
Yeah.
You really have to show up. You really have to do the thing. And if you're not hustling, you're not grinding, if it's not hard, if you're not challenging yourself all of the time, if you're not, being consistent and showing up and waking up at 5 a.m., blah, 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 right? You're all these things, then you must be worthless, right? Or you're not going to be successful. And I just have to do my best to ignore that. But really, it's not that hard because I don't like to work.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like I like to create systems, right? I
Right.
like to create these foundations. I like to create these work that's going to work for me. But
Yeah.
I don't like to work for the sake of working. There's so many other things that I want to do. And so I'll go all in on a project and then I'll pull back for a bit. And so I spent the spring creating a funnel, right, with two different entry points and a tripwire for each entry point, and then a follow up and the email sequences on everything. And it ends with the course. And that took a lot of energy. And so now
Yeah.
I'm hanging out with my kids. It's summertime. I'm traveling. Like, okay, I'll do the next thing when I'm ready to do the next thing.
It happens. So basically, the consistency piece comes from your MG, and then you get these like bursts of energy and this pressure to go. You create the system once, but you're able to iterate and add to it, and doing the best that you can to not pay heed to the conditioning of you have to be on all the time and hustle, hustle, hustle. Is that
That's the
what
hardest
you
part.
Didn't, when you first found out you were a projector, was that like, what part of that didn't you like when you first heard it?
It doesn't sound cool. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it doesn't
Oh,
sound like being
manifestor is way cooler.
Scorpio. You
Yeah.
know what I
Right.
mean?
Right. Right. Like, that's
Projector,
the
like
best you could do. Yeah. My movie
I
career.
grew up in the time where like there our teachers used projectors, right? They
Yeah.
taught us
Yeah.
math,
Yeah.
like writing on the
Uh-huh.
little
Uh-huh. On the screen, it goes up here. Yeah.
right? And I'm like, the hell is that? There's that, and then there was just so much around like taking naps, not
Right.
having enough energy, and to me, that was one of the things that I wanted most is to feel like energized and vital and like I was going to
Yeah.
have this like long and fulfilling life and that I had the energy to like meet the determination and the ambition that I have in my body. And so for a long time I kind of like fell into this, well, should I be napping? I'm not
Yeah.
tired.
Right. Right. Right.
Should I be relaxing? Like, is it really okay to
Yeah.
do less, right? And so you
Yeah.
kind of some of it, and then some of it, it's like, I don't know, right? Am I allowed?
Yeah.
And so eventually I got to the point where it was this clear understanding of, oh, I just operate differently
Yeah.
than the generators that I'm surrounded by. Like I literally just see how they move through the world. I see how they operate. I see how they manage their energy. And it doesn't mean that they're healthier than me. And it doesn't mean that they like can do more, right?
Yeah.
They do differently.
They do
And so
different.
I finally got to acceptance where I'm like, I do differently.
Yeah.
I do differently than 80% of people, and there's no need anymore for me to compare myself to
Right.
that larger 75% of people that gets this satisfaction from work.
Yeah.
I I don't.
Right.
So lazy.
No, I hear that. I do hear that. What do you think about Ross saying projectors can be like the most conditioned types and make themselves into little super slaves? When, like, I know you work with all different aura types. Have you seen this pattern at all with projectors? And I know we can be so different. Like, projectors can come so many different styles.
I'm thinking about, yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that in the projector type for sure. And to me, like it just feels so blatantly obvious
Yeah.
when someone is not living by their design.
Yeah.
When they're not, they will be the first person to argue their weaknesses to me. They'll
Right.
be the first person to argue that they can't let go of the thing that I'm telling them to let go of. And
Yeah.
so that's a whole other level of conditioning and therapy and healing and
Yeah.
releasing
Yeah.
than the average person. But majority of projectors, when I tell them they're projectors and I explain to them, especially the sacral energy and what that means and what that feels like, it's just almost like, oh, thank God, right? It's
Yeah.
finally someone gets it because nobody got it, right? And
No.
it's not like that loneliness that a lot of projectors feel, because you're just waiting for somebody to see you. You're waiting
Yeah.
for somebody to invite you. You're waiting for someone to give you that recognition. And you're just always on the outside of these conversations going, I know the answer to that.
Yeah.
I, I have something to say about this. I wish someone would ask me. And that was like really a horrifying experience of for me of being human, right? And just living until I understood human design. I felt
Right.
so isolated, I felt so lonely, I felt so ignored. And even learning about waiting for the invitation, that pissed me off. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Now what, right? But as soon as I started to just kind of follow the rules of human design, the rules
Hmm.
that I started to say, you know what, I'm going to pull back and I'm just not going to give a fuck. Like, let them figure it out. It's fine. Like,
Yeah.
let them run around in circles. It's okay. I don't need
Right.
to say anything.
Right.
As soon as I pulled back, I found all of that missing energy, right?
Huh.
That projectors are said that they don't have. I
Yeah.
found I
Yeah.
was wasting it, like just trying to fix everybody's stuff, just trying to get someone's attention, just trying to get invited. As soon as I pulled back and I was like, nothing to do. Nothing to do. Let them figure it out. Let them chat about it. And here's the hilarious part. Now everybody looks at me and asks me the questions.
Right,
But when
right,
I wanted them to,
right.
they
Nothing.
couldn't see me. But it's a certain amount of like quiet confidence that you get as a projector when you know I can make your energy efficient. If
Yeah.
you ask me. And if you don't ask me, I really don't care.
No.
I will keep this energy for me.
That has been such a huge thing for me in business, and it was hard, and it can still be hard to reconcile. Like most of the like bro marketing, I was in that Hormozy 100 thing last year, and the what they wanted you to do every day was like 300 comments, 300 DMs, 300 minutes on content. I mean, I didn't do that once. Like there's no way that I could do it. And I was just like, this is fucking hard. And so like I do believe like bringing a business like birthing it like at the beginning, it's like an airplane taking off the ground. It like takes so much more energy to get it up than it does to maintain. And so
Yeah.
there's like this certain level of like sheer force of will that goes into it, but I ended up, and you kind of have to work with whoever wants to work with you. That's how I felt at the beginning. And so I ended up
Yeah.
bringing on a lot of like totally great people, but just not aligned clients. And I was like trying to force it into to work to make it make sense. And it's like, yeah, it's really like I feel like projectors are the ultimate black cats. Like when you pull back with the black cat, then all of a sudden they're attracted to it. They really want that. And it's the desperation of like pick me that people can feel.
Mhm.
And yeah, that was a huge moment for me when I was like, oh shit, Amanda, you're a projector. And you remember how this relationship started? Like this was you, like really trying to make this happen. And here we are. And I totally feel you on it. It is a whole new level of energy and the quiet confidence of like, I don't need you. I don't need this. I'm good, that then brings them in. And part of it, I think, is just you showing up day in and day out, talking about the same thing long enough, people are going to notice. People are going to notice.
And that's the consistency, right? Is the ability to just kind of like stick with the thing that
Yeah.
you like, you know what I mean? Like stick with your system if you're a projector. And so even if I get like occasionally bored with human design or talking about a certain facet of human design, right? Like there's only so many times I can explain what a generator is.
Right.
Human design has so much intricacy and it's also built on four foundational systems. I saw that you were
Yeah.
studying the Kabbalah recently.
Ah,
There's
I'm like,
always
maybe I'll go into
somewhere.
each system one by one, but yeah,
That's
right
what
now.
I did. There's
Yeah.
always somewhere else you can go and learn more. And these systems are thousands of years old. And so even if you go, okay, human design, sit back for a moment, like I could spend the next decade on astrology and it would only make my astrology wisdom better and my human design
Right.
wisdom better
Right.
because they all go together. And I would never have gone down this path if I didn't have respect for the four foundational systems, which I
Yeah.
did. I
Right.
knew what they were, I knew the names of them, I had studied them individually, but not at any level of depth, just kind of like
Right.
surface level. And
It's
when I
like,
saw
yeah,
the
this
four,
guy Raw might be crazy, but these four,
yes,
they have something.
he
Yeah.
was out there, right? And that's okay. Like he's not my Messiah, right?
No.
I don't believe in him.
Right.
I believe his story, as off the wall as it may be. You know what I mean? There's certain things that just can't come through without some kind of divine intervention, without some kind of extra oomph or even
Yeah.
a transit. I believe in those kinds of things, but as far as like listening to what a man tells me to do, I'm not very good at
I
that.
know.
And that's another thing I would mention about, what you were saying with the Alex Hormozy thing. I had to also
Yeah.
part of trusting myself was also trusting like the physical body that I chose. And men are on this circadian rhythm, this 24-hour cycle, right? They get these peaks and these valleys and these bursts of testosterone and their hormones just work differently.
Definitely.
And they can replicate that every 24 hours. And it's good for them to take this advice, right? It's good
Yeah.
for them to optimize their health in that way. It's not good for a woman to follow that rhythm of a man. And it's not good for a man to follow the rhythm of a woman, right? He would be so bored half of the month.
Yeah.
For us, it's like I'm telling you, this on-off pulse kind of aligns with all of the different facets, right? The lunar cycle, this full moon versus the new moon, right?
Right.
Releasing versus creating. Like I feel that energy in so many different ways. And that's another way that my business kind of flows. There's times that I don't want to talk to anybody.
Ah,
There's I don't want to show up on socials. And so that's when my VA is able to go take things
yeah.
that are old and repurpose them. And
Right.
oftentimes because of the nature of an algorithm, when you repost something, it might have gotten 200 views and it could get 2 million the next time. You really don't know. It's not
Never.
necessarily the quality of the content, it's the
Yeah.
consistency of your authenticity. And this is how it's easy for me to repost my old videos and continue to move my business forward using those. I've always talked about human design in the same way from the same me. And I would tell people this is what I know now. And
Yeah.
so when I talk about something now, of course I've learned more and I talk about it slightly differently, but it's still the same baseline energy. I'm going to talk about it in a clear way. I'm going to give you examples of
Yeah.
my experience, and that makes my content not expire,
That's
which
right.
is great.
So it's finding ways to work with what you were given and find a way to make it consistent, at least so the algorithm gods bless you. But that doesn't mean you have to show up all the time.
Yeah, and if that's your business model, I think
Right.
people
It depends.
forget that
Yeah.
you have unlimited options as a human being. That's kind of why you came, right?
Yeah.
You have unlimited creativity, you have unlimited
Yeah.
potential, like things that you can do with your life and your energy. There really is no limit to it other than what you believe it to be.
That's right.
And so creating content all of these years, now turning to ads, like that feels pretty good, right? Like
Yeah.
I can control the algorithm now. I can put it in
Yeah.
front of X number of people, and now I can measure my metrics so much more easily than I could before, right? Like my metrics are always consistent as far as like the amount of engagement,
Yeah.
likes, follows, shares. I get this many views and I'm always going to get this many likes. And so,
Yeah.
okay, the content itself is fine. And that means if the views increase, the likes increase. Once you know that and you have that consistency and you have an audience that you can also like kind of tap into
Yeah.
to make sure you're aligned with what they want from you, right? And what they
Right.
see of you. Now you can turn to something like ads and you can create
Amplify
the
it.
exponential growth, but same old you
Yeah.
content, right? I
Right.
sat in my pajamas on Monday and recorded an ad, right? I woke up in the morning and I'm like, I got to do a video for these ads. I tried a carousel, it didn't perform well. People don't like
Yeah.
to see carousels on ads. I got to talk to them. People like when I talk to them. Okay. So
Yeah.
put my little laptop here or put my phone on my laptop screen and I was like, listen up, guys. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I recorded it and it just happened to be exactly 1 minute long and I posted it and now the VA has taken over that part of like running it, making sure it's funded, checking the metrics, da da da
Yeah.
da, right? And it just does. And so you can build your business on email, you can build your business on a blog, right? You can go shake hands with people in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
None of it doesn't matter. You have to do what feels right. But I like talking. I
Yeah.
like it.
No.
I like being on social media.
Yeah.
I like the simplicity of just recording a video and hitting submit, right? I like engaging with my audience in that way where they can comment on things. And so
Yeah.
I continue to do it because I like it, but I wouldn't suggest anybody do social media if they don't like it.
Do you feel okay? So I really feel like projectors, one of the best things that has ever happened to us is social media because before you would be limited by the people that you knew in your life. And now, at least in terms of online business, now you can literally take your phone out and talk to your camera and anybody can see it. You can talk about things you love. And it's like, what better way do you know to create invitations? Now you got invitations from like all corners of the earth. It's like
Yeah.
remarkable. It's
Yeah.
literally remarkable.
But that clinginess that we talked about, right? That need for validation, that need to be seen and invited. If
Yeah,
you feel that, if you haven't healed that, if you don't feel confident, if you don't feel aligned, I froze.
you
If you don't
got
feel aligned with yourself and your
yeah,
offer,
yeah.
you're still gonna repel people.
You're gonna have
But
to
the
find another
moment
way
that
to do
you feel like, hey, I have figured something out,
Yeah.
right? And without attachment, I'm going to walk you through this thing that I know that can help you manage your energy and make it efficient. No attachment, okay?
Uh,
I didn't do CTAs
it-
for so long. And even if I do a CTA, it's still without attachment. It's like I know you're going to ask me what the next step is because I've walked you through a step-by-step process. So here it
right.
is.
Yeah.
Whether you want it or not, that's up to you. You get to choose what you do with your energy. But I'm so passionate to show up and continue to talk about how to make energy efficient. That's what I love
Yeah.
to do. This is where being seen and recognition. But if your sole purpose of showing up on social media is to get the invitation, it's probably not going to work
That's
out. You know
true.
what I mean? And this is
That's
where people
golden
come,
retriever energy. We're going
yeah,
cat. Yeah.
come to me and they go, well, how can I post on social media if nobody's invited me yet? Exactly. That's not the point of you posting. You're
Right.
posting because you are walking people through a system and you're so passionate
Yeah.
about creating efficiencies, and that's at the end. You're not posting simply to get an invitation because if you do, you won't.
You won't.
You're
No, you
showing up to
won't.
be seen. You're showing up to be seen in your system, the end.
Yeah. That's it. And it's gotta be. And it's gotta be. So that's so interesting. So projectors, I heard you say it showing the consistency of your authenticity and like doing it for the sake of like, I love doing this. And that applies to nobody, no matter what your design is.
Yeah, of course, right? So it's for projectors, we're going to get that feeling of success when we
Yeah.
help someone manage their energy. And
Yeah.
so when someone comments on free content that I've made and they're like, holy shit, right? I had an epiphany, or oh my gosh, my whole life is going to change after this. That feels like success to me.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily money that feels like success to me. And I have to
Right.
remind people this all the time. We're not talking material success. We're talking your success versus bitterness is in your ability to manage energy and to guide. That's why you have an undefined sacral. You can feel it and then you can optimize it, right? You can feel someone else's energy and you can help them make that more efficient. And then you
Yeah.
feel successful.
Yeah.
Nothing else in life will make you feel
Oh, it
successful.
doesn't. It's not the same.
Exactly. And so even on my free content, like I feel successful every day. I get comments and engagement every
It
single day,
makes
and
me
that
so
feels like
happy.
success to me, right? And
Yeah.
that's another thing that keeps me posting forever and ever. But a generator, right? They want to feel that satisfaction of a job well done,
Mm.
right? And
Yeah.
that's a little bit different. That's a little
Yeah.
bit like this enthusiasm bubbled up in me, this excitement bubbled up in me, and I had to move this energy somewhere.
Yeah.
It. I'm done, right? It doesn't necessarily matter how it lands on the other side, but when people see enthusiasm, when
Yeah.
people see genuine excitement, they're excited too. But
Infection.
your satisfaction was done before that, if you're a generator. Your satisfaction was in doing the work,
Yeah.
right? Not
Yeah.
the same as a projector, like this penetrating aura that wants to
Right.
manage this energy. Manifestors, right? They don't give a fuck. They're
No.
going create this impact, right? They're going to create this ripple effect. And that's where their peace comes from is like, get out of the way. I have something very impactful to do or to say.
Yeah.
Step aside, right? And so now they feel peace because that energy moved with ease. It's a motor to
Yeah.
throat connection. I
Yeah.
have energy and I have to manifest it out.
Gotta go out.
And so this feeling of peace, right, is very different than satisfaction or success. And the same thing with reflectors, that lunar cycle of surprise versus disappointment. When they try to act like everyone else, impossible. They're different than 99% of people. They're
Yeah.
going to be disappointed
Yeah.
on a daily basis. And when they release attachment to the outcome and they just let things kind of be
Yeah.
as they're meant to be, now they get this surprise, right? This oh, right, serendipity, like
Yeah.
oh, this is amazing. I had no idea it could be this good. But when they have that attachment and they can't create consistency in any of the given energy centers, then they're always disappointed. But you
So,
just kind of you see
yeah.
it. You see it
Yeah.
mechanically, see
Yeah.
it, see people operating that way, and you go, "Oh, isn't that interesting?"
Yeah. It is. It's fascinating.
It is, right?
I like to call the not self theme the portal to wealth because it's like you like I'm if I'm feeling success all the time, I'm probably not going to change my behavior. But if I'm really bitter all the time, like I will, or frustrated, or Have you noticed that as like a theme, or how do you feel about that? That like we have to have the negative to bring us to the other side, or how do you work with or
Yeah,
have
I
to say
mean,
about that? Yeah.
the darker it's been, the brighter the
Yeah.
brightness. You know what I mean? Like it's like walking out into the sunshine after being like, in a movie theater. It's like, whoa,
Yeah.
sun is extra today. What the hell, right? But
Right.
you get this contrast of experience that
It has
you
to.
wouldn't have otherwise. And so when we teach people about their not self themes, and I always call it like the black hole, right? The bottomless pit, when
Oh,
we teach people how distracting that can be, and
yeah.
they're able to recognize it, and I'm always told that like I'm a little earworm, okay? When we recognize it and we go nothing to do, Tangi said nothing to do, okay? So I'm feeling
So,
my open ego, I'm feeling this need for validation. Like somebody tell me I'm good enough. Somebody tell me I'm doing a good job, right? Somebody tell me that I mean something to them. I need this, right? I need
yeah.
this. And if I don't get this, then I'm not proud of myself.
Right.
As soon as that kicks on, because it does. That's my distraction in this whole lifetime. As soon as that kicks on and I go, well, nothing to do.
Nothing to do.
Done with that shit. Now, all that energy that was wasted in that distraction, I
Right.
get to claim.
Yeah.
And now I get to move into this black cat energy that you're talking about of like, no, I don't need anybody's validation. And on top of that, I can look at you and I can immediately know how you think about yourself. I can immediately know your sense of self-worth because I have so much openness. I'm not conditioning you in
Right.
that.
Right.
So
Right.
through my openness, I can help you learn lessons about your self-worth too, right? And so this can be, I tell people their open and undefined centers are their coaching strengths. You're
Yeah.
not conditioning your clients, right? And they come and they walked right into this judgment-free space, right? They walk
Yeah.
into this wide open energy and now they just kind of dump out everything that they've ever felt or experienced in those centers and now they feel better, right?
Yeah.
That energy they get to reclaim.
Yeah. That's so interesting. What you said about the like the open ego, I'm learning in Kabbalah. They're talking about be careful if you like teach a really good class or you do really well in social and someone tells you like how great you did, that it's like they talk about the ego as this endless black hole. You get one compliment, you want two, you get two, you get want four, and it just like continues to grow. So even especially if you did really really good, like a piece of content did well or a class and everybody applauded you, you got to go and like the criticism and the compliments are both from, they're both
Right.
external. Like that's not reality. Like they're both true. Doesn't make you a better or worse person. Well, this was amazing. I feel like we hit most of my questions, that I feel like I got a lot of good intel from this. I'd love to hear now. You said you built two new funnels. What is most fascinating to you now, like in your human design realm? What are you working on, and how can the people reach you?
I'm in my astrology era.
She's in
I'm
astrology.
really
Okay, talk to us.
I'm really connecting with and understanding astrology at a different level than I
Yeah.
did before, right? And so in human design, you're able to get a different understanding of all of the gates that you already knew. I mean,
Yeah.
you what sign that they land in, and Raw kind of like shied away
Yeah.
from looking at the entire wheel, from keeping people
Yeah.
on the great mandala, and kind of focused more in on the body graph
Yeah.
itself.
Right.
So they simplified things, which kind of
Yeah.
needed to happen because it's a lot.
A lot.
But after understanding the simplified version, I kind of expanded back out to like, hey, let me see it all at once. I
Yeah.
want to see the entire I Ching. I want to see all the hexagrams. I want to see all of the astrology. I want to see, the entire body graph, the energy centers, the chakras, the Kabbalah. I want to see it all.
Mm.
And really, astrology has been a lifetime love of mine, of course.
Yeah.
Uh, and now that I've learned human design, it looks different, but it looks even more
Wait,
interesting.
what is your big three in astrology?
Aquarius, Sun and Moon with Virgo rising.
Oh my God, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, right? It does.
Yeah. Yeah.
The same way that human design, okay, I tell people how to manage their own energy for themselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And when we look at astrology, we're only looking at the personality side of a human design
Right.
chart. And so
Right.
we're seeing more of this like how people view their own personalities. And
Yeah.
like when you're able to connect those dots, right? And be able to kind of like see it through this larger frame, you go, okay, that makes sense. The same thing where I was telling you that story about the reflector, like we human design would tell us, oh, reflector has no consistency, they don't have any energy. But I'm like, this reflector is an Aries sun.
Yeah.
It's
Changes
got
things.
some fire. Okay.
Yeah.
It changes
Yeah.
things a little bit and it gives you a little bit more depth to work with. It gives you a little bit more context. So, like in my own personal life, I've been going down the transit rabbit hole, how the planets move, how they impact
Yeah.
uh, individual chart, how they communicate with each other. And again, it only teaches me more about human design. So I started my podcast in January
Yeah.
where I talk about what gates are transiting week by week. But oftentimes we'll also talk about where the sun is, right?
Yeah.
What sun sign we're transiting through, and maybe if there's a major shift or if it's a full moon, like I'll talk about all of those things as well because they all go together. So I have that. My podcast is called what is my podcast called?
A feel good expert? No, you did something different?
It's called Life in HD with the Feel Good Expert.
Okay. Okay. That tracks.
Took me a second there.
Yeah.
Life in HD. Yeah, I still have my website where you can pull your chart for free anytime. I still have my personalized reports active. I'm really promoting my signature course because as you know, I think it's really important to have the foundation
Yeah.
before you can take any next step. So I coach human design coaches, like they come and find me,
Yep.
of course.
You do.
But that I think that the course or the foundational knowledge of human design is important, right? It
Yeah.
just and I created that course because it's what I wish I had when I was getting started. So that's my basic stuff. Foundations of Human Design is what I offer. I'm going to start taking coaching clients again. I go off and on, but I miss it.
It's
I'll do
fun.
it, then I'm like, I need to be free, and I'll
Yeah.
stop, and then I'll sit, and then I'll take clients again. So I'm going to start taking coaching clients pretty soon here. I
I
probably in the
saw
next.
you made two new freebies. What are those?
So it's for human design readers and coaches. Okay.
Yeah.
So everything that I created up until this point was to give it kind of like my net was cast very wide. Like
Right.
I just want to talk about human design to everybody all the time.
Yeah.
And when you cast a wide net, right, your marketing doesn't hit so well. And you attract, like you're saying, you attract some clients that are amazing, and you also attract maybe people that aren't quite aligned, but you understand that through the process of working with them, and you go, oh, okay, now
Yeah.
I know what I want even more. Now I know what I want
Right.
even more. But
Right.
lucky for me, people who book readings with me, and it's always been this way, are people who are coaches typically,
Yeah.
or they are entrepreneurs, or they are in the human design world and they want to kind of like take a next step. And so, with that evidence that I gathered, I've been able to say, I coach human design coaches. That's
Yeah.
who comes and finds me.
Yeah.
So, these freebies that I've created are to support readers and coaches who are using human design in their practice. And so I created this PDF, right? This little ebook of kind of secrets,
Yeah.
things that I figured out along the way that someone who's new to human design or hasn't been in their experiment for a while, they might not have noticed that
Yeah.
nuance. So it's like some
Yeah.
of my trade secrets, not generic stuff.
Uh,
And after that, I was like, I have a lot more to say about this.
yeah.
So I sat and recorded a whole webinar where I could do a screen share and like talk about interesting parts of the chart that I look at that you might not immediately see if you're not an experienced reader. And so all of this, right, when you're looking at this, you go, oh shit, that is like that's pretty good, right? And that relates with what I've learned about my clients and my chart. Now, all of this, if there's anything, if there's any chunk of information that's missing in your human design journey, right? Because sometimes the
Yeah.
information is a little all over the place, especially if you're listening to raw, like everything's transcribed. And so it's hard to find the basic stuff
Yeah.
sometimes. Like
Yeah.
just the most basic things, like what does that mean, right?
Yeah.
Where did you get that? Where did that come from? And so my course would then give you all of the foundations and it's lifetime access. So it's kind of like your advanced reader library, your coach library. So when you come across something new, you learn something new, you go, okay, I need to get to the bottom of this. Where did you
Yeah.
get this idea?
Yeah.
Is you telling me your perspective? Is this from raw, right? Like,
Right.
did you pick this up somewhere along the way?
Yeah.
now you have this resource that you can go to, and I'm just going to tell you foundational stuff, you know what I mean? So you come across something about one of the variables and you're like, I feel like not super confident there
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
there- the course is well organized. And so you go, okay, here's the section on the arrows. You learn about all four,
Yeah.
where they're placed, why they're there, and every single variation of them. And you go, oh, now that other thing that I pulled, from social media makes complete sense because I know where it came from, right? Now I know
Right.
the foundation of it.
Right.
And throughout the course, I share the resources that I got this information from, right? So you
Yeah.
can all cross verify. And so that allows you as a human design coach or reader to now show up in your authentic way, right? Because you feel confident that you've
Right.
gotten this information. Now you can put your own flavor or color on top of it,
Yeah.
and you can make it authentically you. But when you take someone else's
When you take
perspective
their
of human
flavor,
design,
yeah, right.
and when you try to put your flavor on it, sometimes
Right.
you take a little bit too much of theirs and you sound too
Right.
much like them. And then you
Right.
kind of get lost, right? And you're
Right.
like, is that really me? Or where did that come from? And so I feel like I give readers and coaches the ability to go, okay, I get it. It has been said to me in a way that actually makes sense.
Right.
Now I can go and do whatever I need to do or whatever I desire to do in my business with this very strong and confident foundation. I learned it from a teacher who told it to me in a way that actually made sense, and I didn't
Yeah.
have to like go dissect it, right? Or is I don't know.
And
That's
I
my soap.
will say I have done Tangi's course and it's incredible. Like she really does explain things in such a way that I've never actually seen done, and she brings them all together. So like the Kabbalah I Ching, she explains everything you need
All
to
in there.
know, and then the visuals are there. Like it's on point. I can't recommend it enough, or her readings or coaching when she decides to let one or two of y'all in, if you make the
Thank
cut.
you.
No, she's amazing.
I gotta set up my affiliate thing for you. Like, I need to give you your link
Oh, I
for.
will, because I don't care to do all of that. Like, I
Yeah,
love
yeah, yeah.
doing human design with my clients, but I just don't have the patience to get into the
Oh,
nitty-gritty. Yeah, yeah, I don't. I'm like, listen, this is just the way that it is, and we're just gonna have to wait for
take
invitation.
my word for it.
Yeah. Oh God.
This is a rabbit hole you might not want to get into.
No. Okay, so they can find you at the feelgoodexpert.com.
Or feelgoodhumandesign.com.
Is okay.
Both
Both.
of those
Okay.
things go to the same place. Yeah.
Okay,
So the Feel
cool.
Good Expert is my handle
Yeah,
on every single social media
every
platform.
single
So I'm
one.
on Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, like I'm all over the place. And that's thanks to my VA who will repost all the things for
Yeah,
me and
yeah,
create content. And then my website, when I moved from Squarespace to Kajabi, because
yeah,
Kajabi was an all-in-one, and I became a course creator. And I'm like, you know what? One size fits all. Let's do this thing. I don't
yeah.
want more work, and I don't want everything
No,
spread out all over the
no.
place. So when I moved from Squarespace to Kajabi, I had to set up a different domain. So I have both the feelgoodexpert.com and Feel Good Human Design, but they all redirect to the same space where you can find your free chart. You can find the personalized reports, the courses that I do, all my freebies, like you'll find everything over there or in the link in any of my bios on social media. I always tell people I'm really easy to find, actually. People think they're bothering me. Like I don't, you surprisingly, with the number of followers that I have, I don't get a lot of like direct
Right,
messages,
right.
people asking me for things, but I think I also just have really good energy boundaries. And I feel like I met but the questions that people were asking me in the beginning, I made sure to answer them publicly so that everyone could get access to that.
Yeah,
So they get what they're looking for in my content. But all that to say, you can DM me
yeah.
on
This
any
is
social platform. I'm there. I'm on all
great.
of them.
Yeah, you got to check her out on Instagram too. It's a different vibe.
It is. I know.
Different
All of them have their own vibe. You kind
vibe.
of have to cater.
I will
But
say her chart explainer that if you ever see the pink and the blue, that's with the little
yeah.
piece that is Tangi. And I send if they're brand new to human design, I'm just like, just go here first and then go
Aw,
through that and then we can circle back.
appreciate it.
Yes. Well, this was so good.
Yeah, amazing. I'm so glad you invited me.
Was there anything else that you like, any tips for human design or I don't know, anything else? And if not, that's fine too. Just getting into human design and they don't know anything.
For someone who's just getting into it and
Yeah.
they're a spiritual
And
entrepreneur.
they're spiritual entrepreneur. Like where do they start?
Yeah, I think with between the two of us, like they have an amazing starting place.
Yeah.
Uh, the only other thing I would say is like the authority piece is a bigger deal than you think it is. You know what I mean? Like it's
Okay.
to learn how to trust yourself
The GPS.
is going to be maybe one of the most important lessons of your life. And as you continue to, if you came into human design, then you're probably on a spiritual path. You're
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
start getting an influx of information left and right. You're not going to
Yeah.
know what to believe. And so as you continue down this spiritual path, being able to trust your own inner compass
Yeah.
to probably save your life, right?
Yeah.
Because there's and in this Pluto and Aquarius age and this age of information and AI and all of the things like to really be embodied in your own decision-making process and your own authority and your authenticity and having a certain level of self-acceptance. I
Yeah.
think I think it's going to really save a lot of people if you can do it.
Yeah, I know. It's not
Stick
easy.
with it. It's not easy. We
Oh,
get an influx of information, and so reminder, you always get to choose, right? I was getting an influx of really like political stuff and
oh,
also like very like a lot of feminist content, which the stuff that I got, like I was believing, of course, but
yeah.
there's a certain limit of how much you need to know
Yeah.
day, right? There's a certain limit of how much you need to consume.
That's
And
true.
so it is your internal compass that goes, you know what? I don't feel right in my body anymore. I don't feel like I have access to my intuition anymore. I feel
Yeah.
like the things that my hair is going crazy, the things that I, intuitively know or that feel good and aligned for me, I feel like they're kind of getting flooded, right?
Yeah.
They're getting overwhelmed and
Yeah.
overcome. And if you have that internal dialogue, that narrative, that compass, that ability to go, I know what's me and what's not me.
Yeah.
Now you can shift everything. And so the other night I sat on
Yeah.
TikTok and every time something political comes up, I swipe right past it, right? I
Yeah. Gotta
understand what's
train
going
it.
on in the world and I care. And
Yeah.
there's only so much that I can consume. Okay. I can do things.
100%.
I
Yeah.
can donate, I can contribute, I can take a stand, right? But
Yeah.
there's only so much I can consume. I'm more concerned with what I can create in the world. And the same thing with
Yeah.
feminist content. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's only so
Yeah.
much more that I can hear
Yeah.
about and
Yeah.
not mind. And so I sat and I swiped quickly past anything like along those lines. I unfollowed anyone that was like specific creator for that type of content. And I went and searched astrology and I went and searched human design.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Bashar showed up or
Yeah.
Abraham Hicks showed up. I'm like, I'm going to sit and listen to this instead,
Yeah.
right? This is the kind of content that feeds my soul, my
Right.
goals, my energy in a way that's actually good and sustainable, right? In a way that it's the type of content that I want to consume that feels good and aligned in my body. It doesn't make me feel so uncomfortable and also helpless. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Because then you just don't do anything. No, that's really good.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, we can consume and consume and consume, right? And I'm not saying ignore what's happening in the world, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying like you shouldn't take a stand on
Yeah.
certain policies, and you don't get to have your, certain, I don't know, what would we call it? Like certain beliefs on what
Yeah.
rights, yeah, like human rights. All of these things
Yeah.
are so important.
Yeah.
You couldn't consume all day, it'll drive you crazy. You
That'll
have to
drive you crazy.
create.
You
And
have
so
to.
human design tells you your internal compass. And because your compass, your authority is part of your definition, now
Yeah.
you see what to go out and create in the
Yeah.
world. Right? So when I'm not consuming that shit, because I'm splenic authority, I can go out into the world and create this feeling of groundedness and safety for
Yeah.
people,
You can.
right?
Yeah.
But if I am consuming things that make me feel unsafe, now when someone comes into my aura, I'm creating that sense of anxiety for them, and that's not what I want, right? That's not what I want to
I am
create.
going to need you to talk to my mom because we have been working on her news, consumption. She's a 4/6 splenic projector, and I'm just like, if it's not actively helping me improve my life or like doing like I don't, it's like earmuffs. I just put on earmuffs. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I honestly can't. I don't know if it's my Pisces moon, but I so sensitive. Like I can't take all of it in. It just upsets me too much. And so I don't know. I don't know how informed you need to be. But yes, I that's good about your authority. I think it is such a huge piece because you have to make decisions all day, every day. All day,
Again,
every day, you're making decisions, and people, I think well, they're either logically trying to make the decision or getting it through validation of what other people think I should do, or just not making a decision. And none of those things are going to help you create what you want.
right. And we live in a world now where your decision-making ability is unlimited. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you can
literally
you can just sit and have to decide things all day, every day, and that's exhausting. And
exhausted.
so human design and astrology and whatever system you choose
Through
can
it.
help
Yeah.
you narrow, right? And so for your mom and I, it's like we're in this vortex of safe or not safe,
Yeah.
healthy or not healthy. Like that's our decision making process. And when you consume a lot of things that remind you that there are parts of this experience that are not safe, now you're on overdrive, right? You're anxious because you have to find safety, you have to find health again. And when you take ownership of your own authority and you trust yourself,
Yeah.
safe to me, safety is me.
Yeah.
Health is me, right? I am the pinnacle
Yeah.
of these things, right? And if I try to find it outside of me, I will feel completely lost, right?
Yeah.
Like no one can tell me anything about health or what makes me feel good in my own body. Like this is why I stopped subscribing to Western medicine. Of course, if I have an acute injury, I'm not
Right.
insane. Yeah, I'm gonna
Right.
get
Yeah.
stitches, right?
Yeah.
But as far as like what I need on a daily basis, like I get to listen to my body and say, that feels good. And that makes me feel a little off. And what I've learned over the course of the last 20 years is that the research always catches up to what I intuitively know.
Look at that.
Right. And so I'll like, let's say a decade ago, I ate something that made me feel a little iffy. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that just doesn't land well.
Yeah.
You have the opportunity to ignore your body and keep
Yeah.
consuming the thing,
Right.
or go, you know what? I didn't like the way that felt, and I'm not going to do it again. And then a decade later, they're going to say this certain additive does this certain thing that
Yeah.
causes this whole chain reaction of events.
Right.
You might not notice it if you're not really in tune with your body. So
No.
that's my little soapbox.
And we're
Trust
always being
yourself.
told. Yeah. Yeah. Consistency of your authority, authenticity, being detached from the outcome. I feel like you're a wealth of information. I have like a million other questions that came up as you were talking today, but we'll have another chat. This
Yeah,
was
let's
awesome. Ah, yay.
make it.
Okay. Well, I will talk to you soon and I'll let you know when this is out. I'll get it out very soon.
You. Good
Okay.
to see you.
You too. What are you up to the rest of the day?
I gotta pop on my next call. I have my group Q&A
Oh,
session.
fun.
So we have monthly Q&As and then we have monthly transit calls. So two monthly calls for my paid membership. So that's happening and then my little soccer star over here wants me to take him to a pickup game this evening. But yeah, let's message
Cool.
on.
Okay. All right. We'll talk soon. Bye.